Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Uranus conjunct one's natal Chiron. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Uranus, they can be connected with uniqueness, what's unorthodox, disruptions, the unusual, freedom, and independence. Now, when you have this transit conjoin your natal Chiron, well, it may manifest in a lot of uniqueness, what's unorthodox, disruptions, freedom. It can be connected with a physical or emotional wound. It could be really about a lot of freedom or trying to be independent from it at this time. Maybe in some cases, it's using the internet to try to figure out, formulate some kind of plan to deal with it. It could be research on the internet. In some cases, say if this is nerve related as an example, could be using some kind of, ultrasound muscle stimulation. We're talking about Uranus and it is connected to electricity. It's also something when you look at this as well, could also be, this could manifest in some ways trying to perhaps free yourself from some kind of suffering or some abject misery you may be having to contend with at this time. It can be something of an unusual nature that might be causing some suffering at this time. It could be even a friend, somebody that might be in a Uranus-like profession, something could be an astrologer, could be somebody, an innovator, somebody in computers or electronics, aerospace, astronomy. This could be somebody that's very eccentric, to say the absolute least. It could be could also be finding unusual ways to do as far as healing at this time, and it might be through some, could be maybe some innovative device with some physical pain. Um, it could be something where, I mean, you're looking at this as well. Chiron is associated with healing and helping. You could say in a way where you're helping, because when you're healing, if you're actually healing somebody else. Remember, Chiron is the wounded healer. It can reflect ways that we might be hurt, and we have difficulty helping ourselves dealing with those emotions, but we can help others with whatever we're unable to deal with ourselves. We could often help others. Um, so it's something, we could help others in conjunction with what we're not able to do for ourselves in terms of helping or healing ourselves. Um, because it could be something like, say if you have Chiron and Taurus, it could be something from a monetary nature or issues with possessions and resources. And as an example, we might not be able to help ourselves or have difficulty helping ourselves in that manner. But we can encourage others to help ourselves with those same difficulties that we're unable to help the difficulties that we have to endure, that we maybe feel helpless. So anyway, um, so we can't help ourselves in that same, dealing with those same issues, but we could help others dealing with comparable issues. So anyway, another thing too is that this could also be a time too where, I mean, you're talking about Chiron can reflect pain that runs deep. And say if you have this in Aries, this could be, something from a physical confrontation or some kind of actual battle that you had with somebody. If you have it, say, in Aries in the seventh house as an example, it could be some contentious marital situation, or maybe some combative legal situation, and that you're still, dealing with some kind of suffering. It could be just dealing with emotional pain and trauma. But when you have Uranus sitting it, well, it could be where maybe a friend might come along and be able to help you in dealing with that situation, and or maybe somebody in a group, club, or organization. So it can also be too where when you look at this as well, I mean, Chiron can be connected with diminished self-worth, self-esteem, and how one feels about themselves. So it could also be a time to where really that you might experience a lot of erratic energy and fluctuations in this when you have transit Uranus hitting your natal Chiron, because Uranus, of course, could be very erratic and sporadic energy, and Chiron again could represent how diminished self-esteem. And it might be a time where we do have a depleted self-esteem, but other times maybe you're not really feeling that way. It might go away, and maybe you feel a little bit better about yourself. So you could have a lot of erratic energy in that part of your life at this time. It could also be, I mean, Chiron could also be connected with weaknesses and ineptitude, and it might be something where we might feel there's some kind of, I mean, could be a physical weakness and something Uranus related, like the ankles or shins, but it could also be some kind of weakness we're feeling or ineptitude, something else that's not physical that's connected with Uranus. It could be our friendships, maybe matters with our goals and aspirations. Might have felt like we had trouble attaining them. And say this is in Pisces, it might have been rather unrealistic. Maybe goal or expectation, something that was where you might have felt somewhat, maybe delusional in terms of what you were trying to attain. Now, another way this could manifest, this could also be about friendships, may be more prominent in terms of what you're doing to help and heal others at this time. Now, let's say, for example, that you have this transit in Aquarius in the 12th house in your natal chart. Well, this might be expressed perhaps through altruistically and selflessly, which is Aquarius, helping those that are less fortunate than yourself, which is the 12th house, such as the impoverished, the homeless, the hungry, the sick. It could be disabled. Um, but I mean, it could be, for example, for bringing like tech labs, robotics. It could be maybe computers. It could be to inner city schools, the school people that are in schools that are underprivileged or don't have all the technology that they really need. As an example, also too, this could also manifest in some cases as feeling, you may feel inept, some ineptitude in something Uranus related. For example, it could be an ability to express ingenuity or to innovate. It might be something with computers or maybe knowledge connected with astronomy or aerospace, matters with friends, groups, clubs, organizations. Uranus can be connected with society. Um, it might be where in some cases you might feel, whether it actually exists or not, maybe you feel some kind of condemnation from society or feeling ostracized. It might be causing more suffering than usual. Say if you have this in the 12th house of secret sorrows, it could be something that you don't really, you might keep this to yourself and really have a hard time expressing your sorrow with others, as an example. Now, and say if it's in Taurus, for example, and say you might be going through some kind of suffering in matters, maybe there might be a lack of friendships. It could be maybe some inability to retain very loyal, steadfast, real persistent friendships. Could also be a time too for some where it could be about extricating yourself from a situation. Uranus is about freedom and independence. It could be about extricating yourself from some situation that might be causing some kind of emotional or physical wounds and suffering. Say if this is in Gemini in the 7th house as an example, it could perhaps be about freeing oneself maybe from a mischievous or what I call a stealing significant other, or somebody, or it could be a marriage partner at this time, or even somebody you might be in a business connection or partnership with. It could be a time too where groups may be more prominent, perhaps in your diminished self-worth or your self-esteem. It might be that it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to exacerbate. In some cases, maybe they do. There's something with them that might encourage it, but it could also be a time where they might actually be more beneficial in dealing with that. Now, if that is what you're going through. Now, say if this is in Sagittarius as an example, it could be some kind of sports, religious, publishing, or outdoor group. It could be something where maybe that you're encouraged to be outdoors more, which might actually make you feel a little better about yourself, or exercising as another example. Hold on, people. Sorry about that, but anyway. Now, in some isolated cases, this may manifest in some kind of Uranus-related physical wounds and suffering. It can be something with the ankles or the shins, the calves, the nerves. It could be something with circulation, even an unusual debilitation. Like some of you may have heard of, I don't know if I'm saying it right, hemiparesis, when half the body is paralyzed. Now, this is something very extreme, and I think at least in most cases, you might want to confer this on the internet, look this up, but that if somebody has like some kind of seizures or epilepsy, it's connected. A lot of times, I believe it's connected with that. And remember, I would also say Uranus can be connected with epilepsy because it has to do with like an electrical imbalance in the system. Uranus is connected with electricity, things that are electrical, and also too in some cases there might be some kind of spontaneous or sudden kind of physical problem, and it could likely be connected with the sign that Chiron is in. Say if it's in Gemini as an example, it could be something with the nerves, the arms, the hands, something with the lungs. It might even be a breathing issue. It might be something connected with the central nervous system. So those are some ways that this could manifest and pan out. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay